So, welcome to the new Staff Engagement podcast series. In response to feedback from the Staff Engagement Survey, Human Resource Group are launching a series of podcasts called Why I Care About, where we talk to leaders from around the university on topics you, the listeners, want to know more about. So, I'm absolutely delighted to introduce our very first guests. Anna Archer, Staff Engagement and Wellbeing HR Manager in Human Resources, and Daniel Benton, also known as Danny, Head of People and Organisational Development, who will be discussing the impact and importance of staff surveys. Welcome to the first ever podcast.
Thank you, Christian.
Yes. So tell us a little bit more about yourself, Hannah.
So as you say, I am the Staff Engagement and Wellbeing Manager here at the university. I've worked here for about 6 years and I've been doing this role for the last 2 and a bit years. It's a really exciting role. It's ever evolving, working closely with yourselves. We're now looking to focus on a wider piece of work looking at culture. So it's really exciting to bring in the aspects of staff engagement and wellbeing alongside that.
Thank you very much. And what about yourself, Danny?
Well, I've been here about 8 years now. Previously working in the People and Organisational Development team. Previously I've worked in the health service, for renewable energy firms, for a consultancy and Leeds, Beckett University. But again, I really like my role. It's got all to do with culture, many different aspects, working closely with Hannah and yourself, Christian, and the other pod managers. So big topic, exciting topic, and glad to do this podcast to kick it all off.
Well, a very good welcome to both of you. I'm very excited. But before we start with engagement, just a little bit about what's been the best thing that's happened for you either this week or month?
Yeah, for me, I've been quite lucky actually. So over the Christmas break, obviously we get a nice long break at the uni. I got the chance to go to Saudi to watch Tyson Fury fight Usyk, which was an amazing experience, although I didn't want Usyk to win, but apart from that, it was brilliant. And then got to go to Thailand and India for a bit of a trip. So it's nice to get some hot weather during such a cold time. So that's probably my best thing. Just fits within the month, I think, roughly, at the time of recording.
Well, that's definitely something to be happy and celebrating. Wow, a lot of things. I'm taking that Tyson Fury thing, that's boxing.
That's boxing.
Just for those who may not know about sport, obviously I know all about them.
Big fan.
What about yourself, Hannah?
Similar. Christmas, obviously having the break over the Christmas period. It was my little girl's 9th birthday, so we've had lots of nice family time celebrating.
Oh, that sounds lovely. Okay, so now the pleasantries are over with. Let's just dive into the first question, and I think this one is for you, Danny. Okay. So why is culture so important in organisations?
I think culture is crucial, really, and I think actually recognised within all sorts of organisations as being vital to performance and making sure an organisation runs really well. More and more organisations are looking at culture and measuring culture and making improvements, and at the university we're no different. And I guess from culture is quite hard to define. There's no one real definition of what a culture is, and it will mean slightly different things to all our listeners. But there are some common themes no matter where you work. So things like management and leadership excellence, feeling like you belong to a place and you can be yourself, having connections and relationships with other staff members, feeling looked after. They're all crucial things that any organisation should have in place to have a productive and healthy culture. Within the university, there's a lot of research and a lot of our data actually shows that a good culture supports things like turnover rates, well-being, job satisfaction, both for individual staff members as well as teams, departments, schools and services. So it's crucial. I mean, we measure culture in a lot of different ways, and one of the most important ways that we actually measure culture is through the engagement survey, which is what we're going to talk about today. And that's both at a university level, but also within each school of service. And the survey itself allows us to do some amazing things to really get under the skin of what's going on. So we're excited to talk about that today.
And I think that's a really good summary of the importance of culture within organisations, not just within the university, but any organisation that is successful has to have a really good culture that sort of people embrace and want
Yeah.
to contribute to as well. Which probably leads nicely to the next question for you, Hannah, is how valuable are staff surveys in understanding engagement levels?
So I'd say staff surveys are a really valuable tool for us to understand how engaged our workforce are. They provide us with a platform for people to be able to share sort of honest and confidential feedback about their experiences, which then helps us to get a picture and an understanding of what's working well and where we have opportunities to do better and to improve things. So here at the university, we do have an employee voice programme. So that's where we run a series of surveys, and that's throughout the employee life cycle. So we're always looking at the feedback that we're collating and the data that we get through from those surveys, and looking at ways that we can take that and put some targeted action plans in place to address the needs that are coming through.
That's great. And I know sometimes people are a little bit hesitant to fill in a survey. So I'm just wondering, what would you say to encourage staff to complete the staff engagement surveys?
Yeah, shall I answer that one, Hannah?
Yeah,
Okay.
can do, Danny.
Cheers. Yeah, I mean, we know it's been a challenging few months within the university, and culture and improving cultures, like we said before, even more important than ever. So we'd encourage you strongly to make sure your voice is heard, to put your opinions across, because if we don't know what's going on within, like I said, within a school or a service or across the uni, we can't make improvements. So really encourage you to fill in the survey when you can, and together with that information that the survey will give us, we can actually continue to improve our culture and collectively create that Team Huddersfield spirit that will get us into the next strategy mapping going forward.
That's great. Thanks for that, Danny. Maybe this one for yourself, Hannah, is what can we expect from the actual survey?
So next month we're going to go live with our next big all staff survey, and as we've done previously, we're administering it through our survey provider's Culture Amp. And all staff will receive an email to then go on and access the survey. The survey itself is very user friendly, and it'll only take about 10-15 minutes to complete. And within the survey we'll be asking a series of questions on a variety of topics, including job satisfaction, management and leadership, reward and wellbeing. The survey itself does have the option to leave comments, which we always find really useful because it provides some context behind why a particular answer has scored the way that it might have done.
That's great. And I know sometimes when people fill in surveys, and I'm like this myself, is there might be a little bit of a worry about the confidentiality, like they're going to know that it was me who said that. So can you just tell us a bit more about how that confidentiality is kept?
So, yeah, this is something that we get asked a lot about, and the answer is yeah, responses are kept completely confidential. Survey information is held by Culture Amp, and this is held on a secure external website. So it's really important that we stress and get across that all individual responses cannot be viewed, and only departments or managers with 5 or more responses will get a report and insight into that data. So we have created a short video to explain how the reporting rules and technical safeguardings that we've got in place are set up, and we'll be sharing that as part of the survey comms that will go out early next month.
And I'm just wondering if somebody is worried, is the survey set up in a way that you could never match a comment with an individual?
So comments are a bit different. So people can identify themselves through comments. We can't stop that from happening. But we do again have safeguarding and technical support in place whereby a particular area will have to have a certain number of comments before they will become visible.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's up to an individual. If they want to leave a comment that is going to completely identify them, we can't do anything to stop them from doing that. But yeah, as I say, the actual responses and the data that we get through, that is confidential. There's no way of tracing it back.
Yeah, that's fine. Basically, if you identify or put something in the comment that is quite clearly you as an individual, because then obviously that can be identified. But if you keep it sort of, be aware when you're filling something in and it's anonymous, then obviously that can't be identified.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe back to you, Danny, for this one. What happens after the survey closes? How do you ensure that the feedback gathered from the survey is acted upon in a meaningful way?
Yeah, no, thanks, Christian. It's a good question. And again, obviously people want to know what's happening with their comments and feedback. Otherwise, there's no point in doing the survey in the first place. So practically, the survey closes. We then generate reports. We analyse these reports, and they're used then for each school and service to start to form action plans. So before the action plans are developed, though, we meet with each individual SLT to present the highlights and maybe areas for improvement that the survey have identified. If they have done some action planning in the past, we may go back to see if those action plans have made some improvements or not, and if not, why not? And then what we do is, once we've had those initial discussion with each SLT and they understand what the survey means for them, we will develop an action planning process in conjunction with them, and that could be all sorts of different actions, maybe something small or something across the whole school service or even the university. It all depends on what kind of feedback they've had.
Great. So brilliant. Thank you very much for that. And that's our very first podcast. So thank you so much both to Hannah and Danny for being our first guests. And I really appreciate having those honest conversations around the impact and importance of staff surveys and culture. And also thank you to our listeners. In episode 2 of Why I Care About, we will be talking to Georgina Blakely, who will be discussing the impact of coaching and what coaching's had on her career. And for future episodes, we would love to hear from you about what you would like our leaders to talk about. So feel free to leave a comment below this podcast, and also scan the QR code at the end of the podcast to take an anonymous MS form where you can share your ideas about future areas for discussion that you'd be interested to hear about.